Hello and welcome to everybody. We're waiting for a few more participants to join, so bear with us a few minutes and then we'll start with Enter the Dragon, Conquering Asian Markets via the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. So have another sip of your coffee, 2 more minutes and we will start the action. Thank you. Hello and good morning to everybody from around Europe as well as from Hong Kong. Welcome to our webinar, Enter the Dragon, Conquering Asian Markets via the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. On this first page, you see the photos of the speakers that will share their experiences with you today. An impressive lineup, and we want to, before we start, thank our speakers, Tilde, William, Søren, and Alfonso, for having made the time available to be with us today. Before we start, for everybody who is ready with a notepad and a pen or a pencil, you will all receive the PDF of all the presentations and a link to the recording. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentations. A second thing I wanted to say, we of course love to answer your questions, and we would like to do that via a live Q&A, which means that you can ask questions by raising your hand with a little hand function, right? During the Q&A, then we will open your mic and you can ask your question live and in person. And we think and we hope you agree with us that that's the nicest way to make it as interactive as possible. So those were the few, let's say, house rules I wanted to share with you. And then now a few quick words about the organizers of this session. Here, the two key organizations, that's the Smart City Tech Cluster from the EU. Tilde will tell us more about Smart City Tech Cluster and what they do, but their key activity, very relevant for today's session, is that they help SMEs, small and medium enterprises, internationalize to North America as well as to Asia. And Asia is where we meet, specifically Hong Kong, because the organization I represent and work for is Invest Hong Kong. And we're a government department that helps foreign companies establish a presence in Hong Kong. So Enter the Dragon is all about Hong Kong and how your business can grow in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. As I said, Invest Hong Kong is a government department. The good thing of that is that our services are free. The idea is that it's a win-win situation where your company grows and flourishes using Hong Kong to sell products and services and further develop products, thinking of R&D in the Science Park, and that the Hong Kong economy also benefits of your presence there. As you can see, we have a worldwide network of 31 overseas companies. And each of those offices that you see here with the red blocks, they're helping companies from a range of countries. You can see a dot with Brussels, that's our office here. We help companies from 12 countries, being Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Malta, Cyprus, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, and Croatia. And our Berlin office, you'll later you'll get to meet my colleague Wing-Hin Chung from the Berlin office. They focus on Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Hungary, and Slovenia. And like that, we cover the whole world. But our secret weapon is, as I always say, are our sector teams. Next slide, please. At our head office, there are 9 teams that have expert knowledge of the sectors that you can see here the list. And we've circled the innovation and technology team. That is most likely a team that is most relevant for today's audience. And the priority subsectors for this year are biomedical technology, robotics, and smart city. So, it's really where our interests meet, right? And there is, you see the asterisk at the bottom, a special Start Me Up Hong Kong team. Next slide, please. Then Invest Hong Kong offers a range of services from the moment that you're thinking about Hong Kong to actually setting up there and starting your activities there. But I won't go into those details now. I just want to share with you the examples of companies that we've helped in recent months, in recent years, and from the countries in this EU Smart City Tech cluster. Salto Systems from Spain, electronic access systems, think smart locks, right, to enter a door. Acciona Agua from Spain, they are building currently, as we speak, a desalination plant. Keppel Segers in Belgium is involved in still to be built huge integrated waste management facility, a very large and prestigious project. And that is an area, waste management, that Hong Kong is actively looking for foreign expertise. And then 2 companies that I want to highlight from Denmark, Mecoprint, as well as is in printed electronics, and Søren Colt, the Hong Kong general manager, will tell you more, and DPA Microphones from Denmark. This is just a snapshot. We help companies from every single EU country. And we're happy to also help you. So feel free to ask us questions, to send us your email, and or to give us a call. Happy to follow up with each and everybody of you. So now I then want to give the word to Tilde Muller-Larsen, the chairwoman of Smart City Tech. Tilde, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you so much for having us. And on behalf of the entire Smart City Cluster Partnership, I would like to extend my gratitude to you and Invest in Hong Kong for this collaboration opportunity. As Paula said, my name is Tilde Larsen, and I am the International Project Manager at Green Hub Denmark, which is based in Aalborg, in the northern part of Denmark. I am also the chairperson of Smart City Tech. This year, we take turns. So for 2021, I'm the chairperson, and next year will be Portugal. So what is Smart City Tech? Well, it's a partnership of business clusters working within the smart city area from all over Europe. Our main purpose is to facilitate global cooperation between European businesses and city stakeholders, both inside and outside of the EU, in order for them to co-create innovative solutions for urban areas enabled by smart systems. The various clusters of the partnership cover different areas of the smart city field, from IoT and digitalization over cybersecurity and robotics to smart energy production and consumption. Next slide, please. But who are these European partners then? As you can see on the presentation, Smart City Tech is comprised by 10 clusters from 8 different countries. We cover Europe from north to south and east to west. Denmark, Poland, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Bulgaria, Spain, and Portugal. Each of these clusters have an array of member companies which gives our collaboration partners, such as Invest in Hong Kong, access to around 4,000 European companies. But 4,000 is not enough. Even though we already have 10 clusters in the partnership, we are always looking for more clusters to join us, especially from countries that are not already participating. It is here crucial to mention that a company cannot become a member of Smart City Tech as such, only the clusters, as Smart City Tech is a network of clusters. So if a company wants to partake in the activities of Smart City Tech, it must enroll in one of the partnership's clusters. All right, next slide, please. But what are these activities then that we offer? What do we do? Our activities are three-legged, as you can see on the slide. First, we share knowledge and experience. 1 or 2 representatives from each cluster. We meet online every other Monday. And here we discuss our ongoing projects, and we share webinars from our own clusters that could be of interest for the other partners, if they are in English. We also talk about any new calls to apply for. A lot of our fundings come from EU or trade councils and innovation foundations and all over. And one of the advantages of being part of Smart City Tech is that we already have a broad consortium to pick from. When, for example, an EU call requires at least 3 different European countries to team up for an application, we already have 8 countries to pick from. We just need to decide who wants to be part of this application. Second, we do inter-regional collaboration 3 to 4 times a year when we are not bothered by Corona. Each year we meet up all the partners for an extended partner meetings. We take turn in hosting these meetings. And in 2019, we decided to add a mini matchmaking mission to these partner meetings, meaning that the host cluster will present a smart city challenge from its city or region, and the other partners will bring 1 or 2 companies that would be interested in that challenge. But our very first mini session or mini mission was planned for March last year in Weibo, Portugal. But that was just as Europe entered into its first Corona lockdown. So we have still to try this newest addition to our partnership. So perhaps in autumn we can try again. And third, we do international collaboration, which is what we're doing right now. Through funding from the EU program for competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises called COSME, Smart City Tech help SMEs internationalize. In 2018 to 2019, we ran the project called HKSTP Go Global, where we targeted New York and Boston and Singapore and India. And currently we run the project called ET4S, European Technology for Sustainability, which I will talk about later. But we find the best stakeholders and collaboration partners in our target countries, and together we organize a matchmaking mission for our companies. During these missions, we arrange B2B meetings, site visits, and we often participate in a large expo or conference. Next slide, please. And we are not newbies at international collaboration, as Smart City Tech has existed for almost 10 years. 3 of our current members, DSP Valley in Belgium, Gaia from Spain, and Digital Lead from Denmark, were some of the founders of Smart City Tech through something called the Clients Project, which aimed at strengthening the regional collaboration within the ICT sector. Then came the actual foundation of the Smart City Tech brand and name, when it was established as an official strategic cluster partnership at the European Commission in 2016. 2 years later, after building the partnership, Smart City Tech had expanded with 5 new members: Green Hub Denmark in Denmark, the CDB in Germany, the Smart Cities and Communities cluster in Italy, AMEC in Spain, and the National Portuguese ICT cluster. We applied for funding to help companies internationalize in US, Singapore, and India. That was the HKSTP Go Global project. And leveraging on the experience from the previous internationalization projects, the partnership expanded with 2 more clusters, the Sofia Knowledge City from Bulgaria and Digital Knowledge Observatory from Poland. And then we established our newest project, ET4S, European Technology for Sustainability. And next slide, please. And targeting New York and Singapore again allows us to leverage on and further mature our contacts established in 2018. But we also wanted to add 2 new focus areas, one being Los Angeles and the other being Hong Kong. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are here today. We find that Hong Kong is more than suitable location to add to our portfolio of countries and cities in which we can help our clusters companies. So, Paula, as my presentation comes to an end, I want to say that we are very excited to see where this new alliance brings us. And that was my presentation for today.
Thanks a lot, Tilde, and very happy to be in this cooperation with you. One word before I introduce our next speaker. Actually, today's session with the Science Park is the first of a series of sessions that we will do with the EU cluster. We will organize another 5. But today, our focus is all on the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, and in particular on our the man who's going to take us through the Science Park and who's going to bring it alive to us is William Chung. He's a senior manager in the business development team, and he can tell us all about the Science Park and how it is going to be an ideal place for European companies to grow. William, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, for the wonderful introduction and for having me in this webinar. Thank you also, Tilde, for a wonderful introduction of the EU Smart City Tech Cluster. We really wanted to have the border open up as soon as possible so that our team can visit all of your members one by one. So what I think I'm going to do today is to give you a very brief overview of the Hong Kong Science Park. What do we do, and what kind of support do we provide to the startup company here at our Hong Kong Science Park, and also why the overseas company may want to expand to the Asia region, especially in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. So I steal this infographic from the InvestHK. I think this is a very good illustration showing that the number of startups in Hong Kong is increasing from 2017 to up to 2019. And also the number of people or R&D staff hired by this startup are also increasing. In our startup community, most of the startup companies coming from overseas are from the United States and the mainland China. And so we really wanted to go through this webinar and also other ongoing initiatives trying to have more European companies to set up their startup and also the R&D activities in Hong Kong. Next. Next, please. All right, so this is the iBird view of the Hong Kong Science Park. This is a very scenic view. Our Hong Kong Science Park is right next to the Tolo Harbor to your left, and also the Chinese University of Hong Kong to the right-hand side. Apart from this main hub that is designated for the R&D activities, the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Corporation also manage 3 industrial estates, one in Tai Po, designated for food and beverage manufacturing activities. In Yuen Long, a lot of the pharmaceutical and drug manufacturer there. and also the one of our latest addition in Cheng Kun O that are designated for a lot of data-driven industry over there. In the downtown area, we also have what we call the Inno Center, which is recently repurposed to be our fintech center. So right now, over 20 fintech startups are over there working alongside with some of the major banks and also a lot of the government regulatory bodies. And then on the top, which is across the border between the mainland China and Hong Kong, we are now establishing a Hong Kong and Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park. This is something ongoing and in progress, but basically it will be about 5 times of the current size of our Hong Kong Science Park that would host even more and more technology startup over there. And that all the company over there will enjoy the benefits from both the Chinese and the Hong Kong government. Next. So Hong Kong Science Park is a statutory body established by the Hong Kong government about 20 years ago. Right now, it has about 1,000 technology startup and large, more mature enterprise from over 23 countries. So 2 of them has been emerged as a unicorn already. At Hong Kong Science Park, we are pretty deep tech focused. When you join our community, you will find yourself surrounded by a lot of the different R&D workers, a lot of researchers and scientists over there. So at Hong Kong Science Park, we have our flagship incubation program. Over 400 startups has been admitted to our incubation program, and their survival rate is pretty high, about 80%, suggesting that our support are quite strong for them to grow up. At Hong Kong Science Park, we also have our own investment team, which serve both the buy side and the sell side function. For the buy side, we do manage our own corporate venture fund of about 600 million Hong Kong dollar to invest in some of the promising startup companies. For the sales side, we help our park company to do a lot of the fundraising activities. We have a huge networks of the investor from both locally and also internationally. Next. Like other incubator or the accelerator, our Hong Kong Science Park is serving as a middleman or a bridge to connect different parties so that our park company can innovate their idea, building up their prototype and roll out their solution or products to the market. On the left-hand side, of course, we are well connected with different government agency and industrial association like the Invest Hong Kong, different government department or regulatory body. We are well connected with the Innovation and Technology Bureau that manage the Innovation and Technology Fund. So our park company can get a lot of funding support from the government. Like I said, we are well connected with the investor network. We have over 500 investors ranging from the PE or VC, family offices, and also private investors to do the investment at the Hong Kong Science Park. A lot of the time when these investors are looking for deal that they would like to invest, they will first come to our Hong Kong Science Park to source for the deal. We are well connected with all 8 universities at Hong Kong, which provide a huge pool of the great talents, a lot of different research discovery over there that are readily available for technology transfer. And some of the time we will share some of the expensive equipment or facility with them. In Hong Kong, we have 5 research institutes. Some of them in different technology focus like nanomaterial and applied sciences or biotechnology. Uh, we really encourage our park companies to collaborate with these research institutes that have different expertise. We are also well connected with different strategic corporate partners, such as the property developers, bank, and other industry that are the market makers in that particular area, so that our park company can really engage with them to establish strategic partnership for their business development and their marketing activities. Next. So at Hong Kong Science Park, whenever a park company join our ecosystem, they will be classified into one of the 5 technology clusters. So biomedical technology, materials and precision engineering, green technology, information and communication technology, and also the electronics. So all these 5 technology cluster well supports the government focus in one of the 4 major technology areas, which are the AI and robotics. Of course, Hong Kong is an international financial center, so we also wanted to focus on the fintech. Hong Kong has an aging problem, so healthcare and technology, that makes sense. And finally, the smart city. So this is something we would like to focus on today. Next. So the Hong Kong government has come up with and released what we call the smart city blueprint that outline 6 major areas or 6 major smart city initiatives that we may wanted to focus on to really transform Hong Kong into a smart cities. These 6 areas include the smart mobility, smart living, smart environment, smart people, smart government, and also the smart economy. We figured that we will leave the smart government and smart economy to different sectors, but Hong Kong Science Park is designated by the Hong Kong government as the Smart Region Living Lab, which means that our Hong Kong Science Park will serve as a sandbox or the incubator for different innovative smart city solutions, so that any smart city startup, whenever they come up with a smart solution, they would use our facility as a test bed for them to do the pilot testing and also the optimization before they really roll out their product to the public. So we focus on the smart mobility, smart living, environment, and smart people that are well supported by the IoT core technology. Next. So this is just some of the snapshot or showcase of what smart city solutions that are currently being developed or has been rolled out by our park company. So a few highlights the AutoX, one of the leading Chinese autonomous vehicle builder, having a base in Hong Kong, testing out their autonomous car here. To the right-hand side, we have WeChat Intelligence that develops a AI-based building inspection facility and or solution that helps the old building to do the maintenance and also some of the testing over there. The Energy that provide a smart power management solution that are already deployed in some of the local hospitals right here. So these are just some of the showcase here. Next. Next, at Hong Kong Science Park, we have over 400 park companies that are directly or indirectly involved in the smart city or IoT solution development. If you are interested in checking out, please feel free to look at our directory in this link over here. Next. So Hong Kong Science Park provide a all-round funding support to the startup at various stage. For the earliest stage of the startup journey, even if you only have a startup idea, you even haven't incorporate a company yet, you would be eligible to join our STEP program that provide a seed funding for you to test out your idea and come up with a valid business proposal. For the startup, you can join our incubation program that range from 2 to 4 years with different amount of subsidies. Our startup incubation program are classified in 3 categories. The Incu app that focus on using the existing technology to come up with a new applications. The InQ tech focus more on the deep tech, so you are expected to do a lot of research and development activities to come up with new knowledge and technology before you apply it to a new product. And then the InQ Bio is a biomedical acceleration program that good for the biotech startup. And then once you have a prototype or have a product that are ready to launch to the market, you can join our LEAP program, the Leading Enterprise Acceleration Program that would help you with the business development and a lot of the business matching and sales and marketing support for you. We also have the Anchor and the Elite program that are really for more mature, bigger enterprise, so that they will help to build up our own ecosystem, assisting the more nascent startup company for their growth, and also hire a lot of different R&D talent and heavily investing in the R&D activities in Hong Kong. So apart from all the monetary support and also the lab space that we provided, the so-called hardware, we also provide a lot of opportunities for the startup to be linking up with a lot of the corporate partners to do the networking activities. They would have access to our mentor, our consultant, and also our investor team. Next. So this is some of the details of our incubation program. I'm not going to go through all the details. If you wanted to check out for example, the admission criteria, feel free to check out our website, or you can leave us your contact information so that we can have a one-on-one web call to discuss further. Next. Like I said, the LEAP program for the business development with a total package of the 4.8 million Hong Kong dollar for business development and sales and marketing activities. Next. The Elite program for bigger enterprise with up to 20 million funding support on a matching basis. If you are a bigger enterprise with about over 30 employees globally and heavily invest in the R&D activities. Next. Next, please. So a lot about the funding support. We understand some of the startups, they may want to start out quite lean with a minimum startup cost. So you can enjoy the benefit from the Hong Kong Science Park because at the Hong Kong Science Park, we already built in a lot of different facilities for you to use at a very low cost or even free of charge. For example, our data studio or data technology hub for data-driven industry. If you are developing AI solution, the AI Plus and AI Lab is good for you. We also have some facility or biomedical platform or healthcare devices innovation lab for biomedical or the smart living solution. We have on campus the autonomous vehicle road testing hub for you to test out your autonomous car. If you are into the hardware, the robotics, the sensor, and also some of the IC or microelectronics hardware development, we also have a lot of different facilities at your disposal that would really save you a lot of the startup costs. Next. So apart from the Hong Kong government supporting scheme, uh, a Hong Kong company, whenever a overseas company land in Hong Kong, they are already considered as a local Hong Kong company, and that would make them eligible to apply for the government funding. So on the left, if you are heavily investing a lot of expenditure on R&D, you can apply for the enterprise supporting scheme on your own, or the partnership with research program if you are collaborating with a local university or the research institute that I just mentioned. These are in terms of the on a matching basis, but you also can apply for a cash rebate for the R&D expenditure. The Hong Kong government encourage you to apply for the patent to protect your IP, so you would get a small subsidy if you are applying for a patent application. The Hong Kong government also wanted to support innovation solutions. So whenever you have a prototype that are ready to launch to the market, the Hong Kong government, different government agency or public sector, they would really wanted to try out your product or the prototype first and then give you some feedback. So you can apply for the public sector trial scheme so that you can enjoy some of the benefits that would give you some funding for you to approach this government agency and then test out your prototype before you launch them to the market. On the right-hand side, these are some of the subsidies for you to do the trade show for sales and marketing or digital marketing purposes. Next. Next, please. Well, so the Hong Kong Science Park and also the Hong Kong government take the talents very seriously. We wanted to nurture our startup ecosystem so that more and more youngers or university graduate can uh, uh, get into the INT industry. So the Hong Kong government would provide up to 4 headcount for you to hire the STEM graduates in your company for up to 3 years. Some of these subsidies can be used for hiring the internship over the summer or for the entire year. We understand the accommodation is quite expensive here in Hong Kong. So the Hong Kong Science Park will also provide some subsidies for the overseas expat if they are coming from overseas to do the R&D work here for up to 1 year. Next. More recently, we are also building up a new co-living residence, a new building, what we call the InnoCell, so that if you are hiring, if you have some visitors from overseas, or if you are moving from overseas to join a park company right here, you can stay in this state-of-the-art building, the InnoCell, which is literally just across the street from the entrance of the Hong Kong Science Park, where you can enjoy your life, your work with among with some of the entrepreneur and startup founders in the same areas. And this building is supposed to be launched in June this year. Next. And the rent is very cheap, so it's talking about 30 euro per night. So I think it's very affordable. So a lot of the time we talk to some of the overseas companies to understand why they would wanted to have a base in Hong Kong or regional headquarters in Hong Kong. So some of the answer we got from the survey is that they really wanted to consider about the market size here in the Eastern District, and then the access to the strong pool of talents, the research talent, and also the setup costs in the region. And in Hong Kong, we do have some of this advantage for a European company to uh, either relocate to Hong Kong or expand their footprint in Hong Kong. Next, first of all, is of course the strong pool of research talent. Like I said, we have 8 universities at Hong Kong, and among these universities, 5 of them are really the top among the top 100 ranking around the world. And we do have some of the top-notch researcher in different technology domain. For example, the biotech and also the electronics and AI definitely is one of the most stringent, one of our strengths in research at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And next, and Hong Kong Science Park is a strong supporter to nurture the different I&T talents. For example, we are helping our park company to recruit R&D workers or researcher uh, uh, to our park company, both from locally or internationally. So just last week, we are hosting a career expo. This year is virtual, so we attract over 10,000 of visitors into our expo that explore the job opportunity at the Hong Kong Science Park. We recently are launching a new program, the Technology Leaders of Tomorrow program. This is something like a management trainee program of the private sectors, but we really wanted to cultivate the future star in the I&T industry. Next. So I don't have to mention about the lower tax rate in Hong Kong, of course, compared with many Western countries like in Europe and the US. The income tax for individual is talking about 16.5%, which is significantly lower than the rest of the world. And for the company, the profit tax is also quite low, talking about 16.5%. And with the enhanced tax deduction, if you have some R&D expenses, you would be eligible for up to 300% of tax deductible for your profit income. So I think that will save you a lot of the tax expenditure and also the cost for your R&D activities. Next. So the third, I would say the perk for moving your company or industry into Hong Kong is that we are literally just one river away from the southern part of China, what we call the Greater Bay Area. Huge population, talking about 9 cities in the southern part of China and 2 special administrative regions, huge population, big percentage of the contributing GDP to the Chinese market, and also you will have access to a lot of different supply chain and also a lot of different connection uh, of and the great talents in the world. So we really position Hong Kong as a springboard for overseas companies to start out their R&D base in Hong Kong and then roll out their products and the manufacturing pipeline in China to enjoy the lower cost of the manufacturing and also the huge customer base. Next. Hong Kong Science Park is a one-stop advisory or the consulting point for your GBA development. So we also recently launched a new program, what we call the Inno Express and the GBA Express program for you to quickly adopt to the culture in Hong Kong and China to really expand your business over there. So this program is divided into three phases, talking about 3 to 6 months. In the first phase, this is entirely virtual. You would have a lot of access to our ecosystem, understanding better about the Hong Kong Science Park, understanding better about the Hong Kong environment and the culture. And then some of the promising startup company, we will invite them to tell us more about their business. So this is basically like a pitching event, so that that company can tell us what they are going to do in Hong Kong and how would Hong Kong and Hong Kong Science Park would help you to succeed. And then if the COVID situation allows, we would actually invite them to come to Hong Kong for a 2 weeks very intensive program to get a taste of what it looked like to do the business in Hong Kong and how to set up a company, and actually going to set up a company and set up a bank account. And then in 2 days, we will allocate some time for them to visit the GBA area. So I think this program would be a wonderful experience for overseas companies, sort of like a soft landing activities before they actually decided to make to pull the trigger of moving to Hong Kong. Next. So this is the end of the introduction of the Hong Kong Science Park. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end of this webinar, or leave me a message by email. I will give the floor back to Paula. Thank you so much.
Thank you, William, for such a complete overview. I think everybody will be happy they received the PDF so they can read the details and then get in touch with you. Couple of things that struck me. In the InnoCell building, there's also a play zone. So in the Science Park, it's not also work hard, but play hard, which is very encouraging. I saw a couple of foreign company names in William's overview. I saw Siemens, that has a smart cities team in Hong Kong, Esri from the US. And lastly, something that we can send you a separate email about. At the end of May, on May 26th, there's a global matching activity of the Science Park, which tech startups from around the world can sign up for. Happy to share that info with you. Then without further ado, we go to the testimonials. European entrepreneurs who are in the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park already. And our first speaker is Mr. Søren Kolt of Danish company Mekoprint, General Manager Hong Kong, who has lived twice for a number of years in Hong Kong. Søren, over to you.
Thanks, Paula, and thanks, William, for a great presentation on the Science Park and all the activities you are doing. I'm always amazed at how much stuff you have going on. So I will give you a short introduction to Mekoprint, who are we, and my own experience in Hong Kong and with the Hong Kong Science Park. Next slide, please. So Mekoprint, we are a development and manufacturing company. We're headquartered in Denmark. We have more than 600 employees, and we are structured in a way where we have 4 divisions. So we have a product focus on printed electronics and user interfaces, graphic solutions, metal solutions in different varieties and sizes, and cable solutions. And we are a key development partner for a number of well-known industrial brands. Next slide, please. So the 4 divisions, they each have their own management team, organization, and product focus. And as most of our customers are in Europe, so shipping larger metal parts and cables from Asia is not really possible. So we mostly focus on the graphic electronics, business, helping with developing user interfaces, graphical overlays, and silicon rubber keypads. Next slide, please. So a few facts. We are separated into different factories, and as you see, we're pretty much all set in Europe, and then we have this small outlier in Hong Kong. So we don't produce any parts to stock or any standard parts. So our business is pretty much guiding customers who have a need for parts they can't get off the shelf, but needs to be customized. And so we produce more than 15,000 customized products to more than 1,000 customers worldwide. So mostly we manufacture in Denmark, Poland, and Ukraine, and we also have 6 strategic manufacturing partners in Asia. So in Hong Kong, we are 4 employees, and we are developing solutions for global customers and servicing our Asian customers and partners, of course. Next slide, please. So we are a family business running on 3rd generation. My grandfather started the company in 1954, was quite the entrepreneur. Being a family-owned company means we also very value-driven, and my father took over in 73 with a focus on partnerships and basically investing in machines if the customer had a demand for a product we could not produce yet, or finding someone who could produce it for us to help our customers. So in the 90s, we started working with some Asian partners, and I got to join on a few business trips to China, and also did some of my master thesis in Guangzhou. So in 2012, my father asked me if I could make a business plan for the company's Asian expansion. And after some consideration, I said, okay, and had some discussion with Invest Hong Kong. And basically in 2012, we established Microprint Hong Kong, and I moved there with nothing but a laptop and some curiosity, ambition, and a small bit of responsibility as well. So after a few years, we were lucky enough to move into the Science Park. And while I was busy in Hong Kong, my brother stepped in and took over as CEO of the company. And as you can see, he's quite happy about that. Next slide, please. So why did we choose Hong Kong? Well, we had 2 options. We had south of China, where we were close to our manufacturing partners, or Hong Kong. So as I was the one doing the business plan, and I quickly found out that the way of setting up a company in China is pretty complex. And so to me, it was very easy to figure out how to do it in Hong Kong. And as I had stayed both in Guangzhou and Hong Kong, I really preferred the city of Hong Kong. Is really a melting pot of culture and city and nature. So I call it the New York of the East. It's very transparent business. There's no import tariffs or export tariffs, and the tax scheme is pretty straightforward, and it's easy to have transactions with Europe and yeah, banking. So we started off quite small scale with an office with the only windows on my laptop, and really doing day-to-day sourcing support, and then from 2014 we moved to Science Park and had a nice view of the autonomous vehicle testing hub, and are now doing strategic project development. So we went from having basically no idea to doing R&D. We have made more than 150 customized solutions, and we have a revenue now of more than $2 million US. Next slide, please. So we are super happy about being located in the Science Park. It's a great environment for development, and there's really always something going on. It's hard to keep up, as you also can see from William's presentation. There's so many possibilities and support options for funding or sparring, for knowledge building, and it's just a great setting for doing development work. For Microprint, we are moving into the digital world. After a year of being pretty much used to doing everything online, we now have a kind of borderless cooperation in the digital world. We are also working on our environmental impact and cradle-to-cradle thinking, in terms of not only thinking how we can produce sustainably, but also how the products will have an end of life. A few tips I will leave on its own. Yeah, have a business plan, but you never know how it's going to turn out. Seek help and advice. There's so much great help and advice from the Science Park and InvestHK. Learn some Chinese. Once you get to the airport, not all taxi drivers know how to what the Science Park is, but if you say "Forhågger," you will get there. So be curious and enjoy the process. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Søren, for that that candid sharing of experiences. I very much like your expression, New York of the East. We often tell companies that Hong Kong is China for beginners, but New York of the East, I would say that also sounds very snazzy. Thank you very much. Then we continue to our next testimonial, and the speaker there will be Alfonso Ballesteros, who is the chief commercial officer of Weibo. That's a spin-off of larger Spanish packaging machine company Inemur, and recently set up in the Science Park. Alfonso, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and Fernando as well from InvestHK for having me and for giving us the opportunity to share our experience. And also thank you to William from Science Park, because the Science Park has been essential to our strategy, as we will explain now in a moment. So if we can start with the next slide, I will explain to you a little bit about what is Weibo. We will then have a look at what opportunity our software goes after, the value proposition of what it is that we do. And then with these three things, you can understand what it is that we do, and therefore what we need when we come to Asia. Then you will be able to understand why we wanted to come to Asia, why we chose Hong Kong, and why InvestHK and the Science Park played such an important role, and where do we see ourselves going from here. So yeah, if we can have the next slide. Yes, basically Weibo is a software for robotics. Okay, we are a spin-off from more established SME from Spain, an engineering company that has been working in the factory integration space for over 30 years. And so from that wealth of experience, something became very obvious, very apparent. There was a problem when carrying out the integration of the factories, that robots were very much different from one another. Each one had a different programming language, and it was quite difficult and quite labor intensive to be able to assemble and to operate the palletizing cell. At the end of an assembly line, you have what is called a palletizing cell, which is where a robot will pick up the boxes and put them in a pallet. That was quite complicated. And so that's where WePal came about. It's a drag and drop solution that enables the user to simply show on an iPad, on the computer, where you want the parcels to go. And the software calculates in the background the instructions and is able to relay them to any brand of robot. And so what used to take a human programmer several days, minimum 3, to code line by line, you can now do, without knowing anything about coding, you can do it in a few seconds with a drag and drop solution. And so the key to this technology is the interface, of course, but it's also the API that is behind, that is the brains, let's say, of the whole operation. It's important to understand that so that we can see the role that Asia plays and that the Science Park play in all of this. If we can have the next slide. Yes. So what's important here, as we see, is that the number of palletizing robots is growing worldwide. And we see that you know, it's everyone is moving towards automation, but there is this bottleneck in the industry, as we were saying, that you need a human programmer that knows specifically the language of that brand. And there are many different brands. And one thing that's very important, there are new brands coming up all the time. And here's one hint at why we are in Asia. The vast majority of the new robotic brands are being born in Asia and specifically in China. Okay, if we can have next slide. So we come to this concept that we were explaining. The amount of installed robots is skyrocketing, but the capacity to program them, even though it's growing, is limited. And there is this gap in between. And that's exactly what we are tackling with our technology. Next slide. So we come back to the idea of the lack of qualified labor, the lack of standardization, and that's where we are able to provide this quite significant solution. So who is going to need our breakthrough technology that brings you from 3 days of an expert that sometimes you need to fly over to your factory to do all of that? Who's going to benefit the most from that to doing it yourself in a few seconds? Well, the answer is whoever is installing the largest amount of robots right now in the world. If we go to the next slide. You see that here, the way our software works is very intuitive. You start with nodes in which each one of them you set up the parameters. And so at the beginning, you choose the robot, then you choose the pallet pattern, as we call it, and then you go on to see a 3D visualization. And then when you are happy with it, you press OK and you generate the code. Next slide, please. And that's basically the essence of the solution. If you can pass through the different elements, this is everything that we have been talking about, that all the advantages that are ingrained in the program. if we go to the next slide, it saves you time, it increases the reliability and the versatility, and all of this you can see afterwards when you get the PDF. But if we go to the next slide, so we already have several leading brands that are using our technology. The majority of our clients are fundamentally in Europe yet for the moment. But now we are expanding in Asia. And now that you have an overview of what it is that we are doing, now you will understand the role that Hong Kong plays. If we go to the next slide. So as we were saying before, if we are resolving a big problem when you are going to set up your manufacturing plant and the palletizing cell, if you have a look at the annual installations of industrial robots, that's the graph to your right, you see that China is leading by a very significant margin. In fact, it's several times the next one. And the next one is, in fact, Japan. And then you have United States, but after that, you have Republic of Korea. And not much farther away, you have Taiwan. And so what this means is that as we see that the worldwide supply of industrial robots is growing, that's the graph on the left, it turns out that 2/3, more than 60% of the robots, of the robot market in the world is in Asia, and half of that is in China. So now you understand, if we are helping those who are installing robots, and 2/3 of them are being installed in Asia, we need to be in Asia, and particularly we need to be close to China. Now, we had the option of going directly to China, but as Soren was mentioning earlier, going directly to China is complicated. I've been living in Hong Kong 16 years, so I know quite well that the environment in China, and that's precisely why personally I'm a big fan of Hong Kong and its advantages, because it, as Paula was mentioning before, it's really a very good introduction to China. So you come to Hong Kong first, you set up here, and it allows you to start interacting with the Chinese market. And that's precisely the reason why we wanted to come here. It's the largest market in the world. It's the fastest growing market in the world, but not just that, from the market point of view, from the commercial point of view, it's also where the new robotic brands are starting. And those robotic brands also benefit from a technology that can allow the robots to be more easily accessible by everyone else. So we have an interest from that perspective. And also we wanted to continue to develop our technology, branching into different fields. So integrating our technology with computer vision, integrating our technology, our API, which is now being used for palletizing. We can also use those brains, so to speak. We can use them for other applications. It could be welding, it could be painting, etc. So this brings us to why we came to the Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks. It enabled us to have the facilities, because we were able to go to the Robotics Catalyzing Center, which is in 19W at the Science Park. So we were able to have an office there, to have a lab. We will see in a moment the work that we're doing there. By having those facilities, it enabled us to hire highly qualified local professionals, and to have an amazing working environment. And you see the campus, it's world-class facilities. And that enabled us as well to access all the hardware that is made available there, like robot brands. And now we can go to see a brief video. This is the work that we have been doing at the Science Park. You see, this is our technology being used to you could have done this. You could have simply designed on an iPad how you wanted the boxes to be placed. and this would be the robot picking up the boxes and placing them wherever you decide. And so this you cannot do anywhere else in the area with the ease with which we have done it at the Science Park, and with the help of Invest Hong Kong, which was essential. So we are big fans and happy to be able to share our experience in this call, because we really recommend it to every other European startup. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Alfonso, for sharing with us what WePal is doing in the Science Park. I'm very happy to hear that the experience is good. So now we go to the Q&A. To everybody in the audience, raise your hand if you want to ask a question with the little hand tool. Then we will unmute you and you can ask the question in person. And the man who's going to moderate all that is my colleague Wing Hin Chung. Wing, over to you.
Hi, thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much to all the speakers, to Tilda, William, and Soren and Alfonso. Very, very impressive lineup. And I'm so happy to hear, especially from Soren and Alfonso, about your experience in Hong Kong. And my first question, yeah, because it's just so fresh in the mind, is there any question from the audience? If not, I would like to ask Alfonso, because this is a question I get asked a lot. How is it with finding potential clients in China, and how is Hong Kong there of help? Can I find partners in Hong Kong to go with them to China, or do I have to go there alone? And how does the Science Park maybe play into this?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you. So what's very important to know about Hong Kong is that even though in recent times a few companies have been moving their regional headquarters to Shanghai, or in some cases Singapore, as far as I know, still the #1 hub for regional headquarters is Hong Kong. So when you need to, that was one of the important elements in deciding to set up the company here, because when it comes to business development in the area, you can actually get to speak with the decision makers by being in Hong Kong, even though the factories might be elsewhere. So for us, that's why it was very important, the Greater Bay Area as well, because of course, Shenzhen and the Greater Bay Area are very important as a technological hub and related to robotics, etc. So for us, the role of Hong Kong is to establish the company here, to hire local staff. In fact, when WePal arrived here, I came into the project. I was here before that, so I was one of the elements that got incorporated into the project. And then we went on to hire a colleague in Shenzhen and another one in Shanghai. And if it weren't for COVID, which of course has kind of made it much more difficult for everyone to have mobility. The key element about Hong Kong as well was to be able to move across the border as many times as necessary, and even to invite people from Shenzhen to come to see our facilities. So this is relevant because hopefully in the near future that will be possible again. And another thing is the usual thing that we always talk about, those of us who live in Hong Kong, that Hong Kong is really 5 hours away from pretty much everywhere in Asia. And so that's how it can help us. So you can talk to the decision maker, and once the deal is advancing, you can actually fly in very little time and go on to see the premises. So really, I mean, we're big fans of Hong Kong and the role that it plays.
Thank you very much, Alfonso. Wonderful answer. Soren, can you echo on this as well?
Sure. We are also used to going to across the border probably every week or sometimes even a few days a week. But it's been difficult this past year. So, but before that, we also had visits from partners in Hong Kong, and there's the proximity makes it super easy to get into China, and as Alfonso said, pretty much all of Asia is within reach. So of course now it's a little tricky situation, but we're confident that in the near future we will be able to travel again as we used to.
Yes, I think so too. I'm pretty optimistic if the vaccination programs are being rolled out all across the world. We will be able to open up the borders in Hong Kong and in China again, and then we will welcome all those foreign business people back to Hong Kong. And this also reflects one finding we had in the past, that our colleagues actually from China, we have also 5 offices in the mainland of China, had the most projects, and a lot of people and a lot of companies from mainland of China have set up in Hong Kong, and also other parts of Asia, from Japan, from Taiwan, from Thailand, from Indonesia. And so for foreign companies, for European companies to find potential clients in Hong Kong is pretty straightforward. And what I love very much about Alfonso's statement is that if you hire a person in Hong Kong, maybe an engineer or someone who speaks another European language, he or she can travel back to Europe anytime, under the assumption COVID is over, and also to the mainland of China. So you hire staff in Hong Kong, you can direct those your colleagues, your new Hong Kong-based colleagues, all across Asia, including China, and that will help your business propel very easily.
Wing, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm reading a question here in the chat.
Yes.
Shall I? It's from one of our distinguished participants from Bulgaria, Mr. Dimitar Christov. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Shall I read it out? He put it in the chat. He was asking about the unicorns in the science park, and I read his question. Were the unicorns incubated in the technology in the science park when they were still small? Or did they come to the park when they were already unicorns? William, what was the role in helping SenseTime and Lala Move It Is, right, become unicorns?
Yep, so the 2 unicorn that you just mentioned, the SenseTime, it is a AI imaging recognition company. And also the other one, Lala Move, is one of the major logistic car rental hiring company in the region. They are both at the Hong Kong Science Park when they are at the early stage. One of them, the SenseTime, is coming out as a spin-off from one of the university in Hong Kong. And right now, so the SenseTime, they are really big at the Hong Kong Science Park at this moment. They are occupying an entire building right here, serving the solution and developing the technology, doing R&D right at the Hong Kong Science Park. So among the investment that we support to them, I think at the early stage when they have the fundraising need, our investment team really help them to solicitate and connect with various investors from the seed round all the way to the Series B, C, and D round, as in the case for SenseTime. Of course, they are doing pretty good by themselves, but with our support in our ecosystem, I think this is one of the major example or showcase of our support and the excellence of the technology of our park company. Perhaps we can maybe invite Sense Time or Lala Move, the executive, to share the experience if we have a chance later on.
Thanks, William. Fernando tells us there is a question from the audience. Fernando.
Yes, I think Mrs. Eugenia Kovacheva is raising her hand, so I will allow you to talk and ask directly your question, if that's okay.
Thank you very much. I'm representative of Bulgarian University of Library Studies, Information Technology, and we are member of the cluster Sofia Knowledge City. I would like to ask Mr. William Chung if you see us to some cooperation between your cluster and Bulgarian University, if it's possible, and how we can do further steps. Thank you.
Yep. So thank you for your answer. So as far as I know, we do not have collaboration with your university at this moment, but we are very, very happy to set up a meeting or the collaboration with all the university or cluster all over the world to facilitate two activities. One is to trying to attract good technology or good startup company to expand their business in Hong Kong. And also, whenever our park company has different needs in terms of technology or research collaboration that can be set up with different foreign institutions, we are happy to facilitate this process. And I think if the border is open, we are always on the go. That means we are always in the air, traveling and visiting different countries. And we really looking forward to seeing you in person in Europe. So I think we should get connected, and we are happy to set up a discussion later on.
William, I can make an e-introduction between you and Eugenia. We have her email from the registration. Eugenia,
thank you very much.
Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much, and I hope we'll be in contact.
That would be great.
Yeah, and may I chip into this? Because Hong Kong government has just launched a talent attraction scheme also. And I think we are also tasked to reach out to education institutions all across the world. And it would be wonderful if Eugenia could also get information from us about the newest initiatives, how Hong Kong tries to attract more innovative talent, engineering talent, which are actually all sought after very much all over the world, to come to Hong Kong. Yeah, and I think Paula can also forward this this information to Eugenia.
I will definitely do that.
I would like to spread this news also to, of course, to Tilda and to Dimitar, because this talent attraction program applies to the whole world.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Maybe one little question in between, William, how many European companies are there currently? Then we know how much we still need to grow, and maybe we can make it a little KPI. Tell us.
Well, so right now at the Hong Kong Science Park, we have around 1,000 tech companies at the Hong Kong Science Park, and among them, about 40 of them are from the European companies. So the fraction is not huge, but it's relatively stable over the the past few years, we definitely want to explore more opportunity to have a European company to set up their R&D and to enjoy the benefit of our ecosystem.
Thank you, William. There's room to grow. I like that.
Yep.
So do we have any more other questions at the moment from the audience?
Fernando, the man who sees it all.
Well, we have Dimitar raising his hand. So I will ask Dimitar to, to unmute and ask the radio.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi guys. I'd like to present myself to the audience. I'm part of this project. I represent here the cluster Sofia Knowledge City. It's not like exactly a question here, but I just like to drop in the end a few words about my deeply appreciations about what you have achieved, guys, there in China, in Hong Kong. I have an engineering background, so I remember the times, perhaps very few people here remember that, the times when we just, the socialism in Bulgaria was ended, and I studied in this technical school, and we had like one place over 1,500 people to go and to prepare his thesis in Dublin. And the world was closed. We didn't speak any languages. We didn't have any opportunities. Our sight was closed, you know, we were blind. And now I see it's open everywhere. You only have to have an idea, a good idea, and to go to Hong Kong, for example. We don't need visas there, at least for the first 6 months. So you can go there, you can see, you can test for yourself, you can open a company, and you don't need any money practically because you only need this idea in your head. Go there, and the state and the government of Hong Kong and your park are preparing and letting you realize your idea there, provide you knowledge, markets, investments, and everything you need to do the business. And it's amazing, actually. I really would like more people, especially younger people, to see that, because it's an extreme opportunity compared to Bulgaria, for example. Bulgarian GDP is about $43 billion of dollars yearly, and the Hong Kong's one is about 1.7 trillion. And it's a huge market compared to Bulgarian, and you can go there literally with cents in your pocket and start business. It's only what you need it's an idea, you know, in your head. Yeah, and actually, to Ms. Kovacheva, I'd like to tell you I am part of this cluster too. So if she has any other question, we know with Paula. I remember the first time I met Paula a couple of years ago. It was in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, and the moment the seminar ended, I was ready to grab my bag and to go to Hong Kong, you know, to do business there. It's so amazing. I love Hong Kong. I've been many times to this city. It's a cosmopolitan city. You can see people from all over the world there, and it's amazing. You know, the food is absolutely amazing. Their people are very lovely. Yeah, just a few words. I'm sorry, I'm quite emotional here. I just try to keep, but anyway, if you like it, you can contact me. I'm the person who takes care of Asia. You know, I mean, we partner with our Asian counterparts. So if you have any question, you can't directly reach Paulo or any of our Hong Kong friends. You can contact me. I could assist you to get whatever you want. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Dimitar. We're looking forward to continue this cooperation. Wing, I see another question in the chat. Shall I read it out to you?
Yeah, I think this question is very good. Please read it out. It's, I think, directed also to William.
Yeah, I guess. A question, William. It's by Mr. Ramez Bodinov. And the question is, the price level of services in Hong Kong is very high. How does this influence investments and development of startups?
So I have to defend a little bit because the price level of the services in Hong Kong, as far as I know, I have been to the Europe about 10 times. So I don't think this is the case, except the housing. The housing is high, that's the truth. But for other services, it is not. So we don't have the VAT. The food is cheap. The clothes is cheap. So I think you might have some misconception here. But talking about the influence to investment and the development of the startup, so you can actually design your own strategy, whether or not you can be heavily involved in the capital or during your startup, or you can start out quite lean. That's optional, and this is up to you for your choice. But in terms of investment, I think Hong Kong, we do have an advantage of raising capital. Our Hong Kong Stock Exchange is one of the major exchange square for the fundraising and the IPO around the world. So it's pretty close to the NASDAQ and the London Exchange in Europe. So I think a lot of the Chinese and other regional in the South East Asia company would go to Hong Kong for their IPO. And in Hong Kong, one thing we don't have to be worried about is the capital. So a lot of investors looking for promising deal. So I think perhaps Afonso and Soren can share a little bit more of your experience, because this is from my point of view. I can always say the best out of it.
I can confirm that that the services we use in Hong Kong is usually cheaper than in Europe, and sometimes a lot cheaper. So we specifically use some testing services, and these are we use the laboratory and the science park, and it's very competitive priced. I know there's also some subsidies probably, and but there's a lot of funding support for different services, even in terms of marketing or whatever you can think of. So I also respectfully disagree that services are super high and highly priced in Hong Kong.
I agree. Yeah, just a quick thing. I agree. I think the only clearly expensive thing in Hong Kong, as we all know, is the housing. But it's true that there is some support for that. But other day-to-day things such as taxis and so on are significantly cheaper. And I think the key is, if you live long enough in Hong Kong, what you pay less in taxes, you do pay maybe more in the housing. It's kind of a tax in a way for living in such a small place. But in the end, it means that you're roughly talking about a European level living standard. And if your profits get significant, that's where, you know, your housing will not go up, but your tax rebate will. So it depends. The better your company goes, the better for you. But for a small company, it means that it more or less cancels out.
And then William also mentioned in his presentation that the Science Park is taking care of young companies with InnoCell and with building a cheap housing for companies, for young companies, very close to the Science Park. And I think this is very, very much welcome.
Okay, I see another question in the chat. And I maybe want to repeat it to all of you. Well, everybody. It was aimed at the panelists. Janev, who writes, it would be nice if contact details of panelists and participants are shared for further discussions. He says, we are establishing a School of Knowledge Sciences in Vienna and interested to do the same in Hong Kong. I would say those who are okay to have their details shared with Janev, we can only do that if people agree, right? This is under the rules of GDPR, we cannot just give out emails. So those who are okay with it, could you put that in the chat, that you're okay with sharing your details with School of Knowledge Sciences from Vienna, right? We cannot just do it like that. I'm happy to share, and certainly Wing, Austria, Vienna is with you. You might want to connect with Janev for sure.
Yes, definitely. And I am looking forward to my next trip to the beautiful city of Vienna. And we have good connections also to the universities in Vienna and to research centers in Vienna, which we are connecting also with the Science Park and other institutions in Hong Kong. So please send us an email. My contact details will be forwarded to you with the presentations. Yeah. Paula will send to all attendees and to all our guests our contact details, my contact details in Berlin. And I also have an Austrian colleague, Lisa, and we take care of all the German-speaking markets, but also some Eastern European countries, as Paula mentioned in the beginning. And yeah, in the interest of time, I think we might have maybe time for one more question, or otherwise I will just say the closing remarks. I think was a wonderful webinar, and we from Invest Hong Kong, Paula and we thank all the speakers all the speakers for their very valuable contribution, and especially also to Soren and Alfonso for their really strong testimonial for Hong Kong and for the Science Park. And I think it was a very, very convincing story. And I think William in the Science Park is also very happy, and we're also would be very happy to connect with the EU Cluster Smart City Tech with Tilde and with Dimitar. And we will welcome all smart cities to come to Hong Kong, connect with Hong Kong. Hong Kong needs a lot of new technologies from Europe. And there are ample opportunities, especially in developing the smart cities of the future. And to the audience, Hong Kong government has also just announced that Hong Kong is going to become carbon neutral by 2050. And China is becoming carbon neutral by 2060. That's the goal. And that offers many opportunities for companies, especially from the clean tech industries in Europe, opportunities in Hong Kong. So contact us, contact Paula, contact William, contact myself, or wherever you are, and we're very happy to share with you more knowledge. Thank you very much again.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.